The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
Welcome back. The U.S. Fed is opening up a pathway for crypto banks to tap into the central banking system. This comes as acting comptroller of the currency, Michael Hsu, is warning that bank and fintech relationships could become a systemic risk and set off a financial crisis. Joining us now to discuss is Georgia Quinn. She's the general counsel at Anchorage Digital. Welcome to the show, Georgia.
Thank you so much for having me. Really great to be here.
Great to have you. All right. So, how do you navigate these mixed messages from these regulatory agencies, some more crypto-friendly than others?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it really is difficult, especially in the U.S. regulatory system where we have so many financial regulators. Depending on what type of product or service you're offering, you could be regulated by potentially 10 different regulatory agencies. So navigating these waters is definitely not easy. And with respect to the mixed messages, I understand from a regulator's perspective, they are trying to balance the equities, right? They're trying to protect investors and consumers and not stifle innovation, and that's not an easy task. But I do think that clear communication is really important. And if you really unpack what Controller Hsu is saying, I think he's saying that fintechs that provide banking services should be regulated like banks. And I don't think that's a really controversial thing to say. If you're providing bank-like services, you need to be regulated appropriately. And at Anchorage, we've always felt that we wanted to seek out the highest regulatory clarity.
Do you think Anchorage is there in terms of being regulated and being up to the standards of a bank?
I definitely think so. After experiencing OCC level examinations, I can promise you that we are being held to the high standards that the OCC sets forth that any other, traditional banking institution would be held to.
And we see that the Fed is talking about opening up the relationships for the central banking system to crypto banks. Are you guys in the process of applying for that as well, or what do you see in that horizon?
Yeah, there are several actually state-regulated institutions that are applying to have access to the Fed window and Fed rails. This is not something that we are looking into or interested in because we use crypto rails, and we're crypto native institution, and we will always be. But other institutions do want access to FedWire and the Fed window, and that's kind of their prerogative. I think it's going to be a long slog to be able to get that, and I don't know if it's necessary as we kind of transition to the digital financial system, but yeah, it's definitely an option.
Well, do you see a system that is very intermingled with the central banking system and cryptocurrencies?
That is what we foresee. It's not a death match where is traditional finance versus crypto and who's going to win out. I think the future will bring a symbiotic relationship between these two industries, and that will provide the most protections and the most efficiencies for consumers and users.
All right. So as a crypto bank, what do you foresee are your greatest challenges right now?
Yeah, so I know people say this and they get very frustrated, but we really do need a little more regulatory certainty out there. We really do. It's one thing to say.
We just spoke about how SEC Chair Gary Gensler said last week that crypto doesn't need any more guidance. It's already all there.
It's one thing to say, yeah, some of them are securities, and a significant proportion of them are securities, but I kind of need to know which ones, exactly, the names, which ones, and then I need to know the reasons why, so that going forward, I can actually apply that to my analysis and make a determination. We're in a really good situation at Anchorage because we're a bank, and so we can custody securities, we can custody commodities, we can custody digital asset, whatever. We can still custody it. But our clients need that certainty, and they are kind of in this just limbo, where they don't actually know how the asset will be regulated, ergo they don't know how they're going to be regulated, and that's really the sticking point right now.
Mm-hmm. I guess as a crypto bank, how are you handling Tornado Cash? Because the U.S. has sanctioned Tornado Cash, a crypto mixing service, but how do you keep track of when some Tornado Cash mixed Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies come to your, custodial bank?
Yeah, this is really, really important right now. And I mean, we've been in discussions with OFAC as to how to handle this and how to treat this. And it really goes to the way the real core differences between traditional finance and the way that money is transmitted and digital finance and the way it's transmitted on the blockchain. Because, a traditional bank that's using, say, Fedwire or SWIFT, they know exactly where those assets are going, right? Like they're filling out a little form that says it's going to this bank in this jurisdiction with this account name on it. With crypto, you don't know that. I mean, and you just kind of can't know that. And so, we have controls in place to monitor transactions and get that information from our clients before they make a transmission. But it takes a different overlay of regulation and controls that aren't going to map to what we currently do for traditional finance. So it's going to take blockchain analytics tools. It's going to take ongoing monitoring, because with a bank, those assets leave your bank. That's all you know. They go to one place, one hop or one institution after you, and you have no idea where they go after that. Versus in the blockchain, you have an infinite transparency of every stop that those assets make.
And it's automated. So, how do you keep track of that all?
Well, we have tools. I mean, we have technology,
and it's verify and track it better than
exactly
the cash system. Okay.
Absolutely. And by utilizing those tools and the real visibility that we have of these assets, we turn that to our advantage. And we're able to use that. But I mean, Tornado Cash, this is opening up a huge can of worms, because in addition to just the actual assets that have been laundered through Tornado Cash, what about node validators who have helped assist in the transactions that have been conducted through Tornado Cash? So they're not actually transmitting assets through Tornado Cash, but they're validating nodes of those assets that are being, should it reach that far? We don't think so. Mm-hmm. But, these are questions that are going to be grappled with.
So how are you even dealing with this at Anchorage?
This is a great question. We go to first principles, right? What are we trying to protect? What is the actual function that we're trying to serve here? And it's to prevent money laundering, right? It's to prevent terrorist financing. So we have to think about, well, in this situation, how can we do that? And that's by knowing our clients. That's by monitoring their transactions. And it's not going to be the same way you do it for traditional finance. It's going to be our way, but we're going to do it. And we will hopefully reach the same or better outcomes than traditional finance has.
All right. Another subject I wanted to touch on, apart from SEBA Bank, other firms have also started to offer staking services in anticipation of the Ethereum merge. And in June, Anchorage Digital also announced its ETH staking service for institutional clients. So would love to hear about your thoughts on Ethereum staking as a service.
Yes. So a couple points I'd like to make. Importantly, our banking charter actually grants us the right to do staking on behalf of our clients. So there's precedent now. It is already a banking practice to offer staking. So, I just love that. Even though it's like, no, we're as far as, we are the only operating federally regulated bank, and I believe we're the only bank offering staking services. So, but I'm not here to have a monopoly over all of staking. I just think it's great that we have precedent now and we can have regulated staking, and this is a service that banks can offer to their clients.
How's the demand?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of our fastest growing business lines.
Okay. Can you talk about what kind of companies or institutions or, what kind of sovereign wealth funds who are interested in this?
All of the above. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
yeah, family offices, sovereign wealth funds, traditional, like hedge funds, other, it's really the registered investment advisors. It's the investment vehicle type entities. And then even, there are some corporates that are kind of dipping the toe. I think that we're a little further away there because they have to see a real yield generation profit kind of. But yeah, I'm very optimistic about this.
How do you feel that the U.S. figures in the global landscape of crypto adoption, given that you said that there is some questions about the regulatory clarity and guidance and such, but, moving ahead, are we behind, or how would you categorize that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me this question because we're about to do a grand opening of our new office in Singapore. And I have to say that working with the regulators there has been kind of like a breath of fresh air. As I started this conversation, I mentioned that there are so many financial regulators in the United States, and oftentimes it's hard to know which one applies to your product or service. And what's really great about Singapore is it is one financial regulator for all financial services. And so when we're, working, we get consistency. And when we're working with our regulators and we're, filling out our application, we're still in the application process. We are consistently talking to the same people, same case examiner for all of our services, and they really view our company in a very holistic manner, which I think actually adds to the safety and soundness.